World Cup. South Africa ourselves didn't run. I cannot believe it. Australia go into the World Cup final.
March 2003, South African cricket is in turmoil. The scars of the Hansie Cronje and match-fixing scandal still linger. A disastrous World Cup campaign only adds to the chaos, leading to Shaun Pollock being sacked as captain.
Players and public alike just couldn't believe it. One run, the difference between success and failure.
South African cricket needs a leader, and they make a bold, controversial call. They hand the captaincy to 22-year-old Graeme Smith. Too young, too inexperienced. Critics questioned the decision. Experienced players were in the squad, yet South Africa placed its future in the hands of a rookie captain. Many doubted if he could handle the pressure, but Smith didn't flinch. He took charge. His approach? Results first. From the start, he made tough calls, and controversies followed him throughout his tenure. Whether it was dropping Klusner, believing he could ruin team dynamics, accusations of favoritism, reports of coach Mickey Arthur quitting due to a breakdown with Smith, or even claims of racial discrimination within the team, Smith was constantly under fire. But no matter the storm, Graeme Smith remained clear on one thing. He was there to win. He simply wanted results. His leadership style? Aggressive and direct. Some saw him as abrasive, even arrogant, but that's exactly what South Africa needed. A leader who wouldn't back down, a captain who demanded success, and he delivered. Smith led South Africa to historic series wins, including beating the mighty Aussies in Australia.
Dominic brings up a Test match 50 on debut, and South Africa have chased down 4-1-4.
In this video, we focus on his Test captaincy. He didn't just lead, he defined an era. With 109 tests as captain and 53 wins, he walked away as a legendary captain, securing his place among the greats of Test cricket. This is the story of Graeme Smith, the captain who took South African Test cricket to new heights.
There it is. That should be it. That's it. The winning runs came from the man that mattered. The captain, Smith. What a fantastic innings. 154 not out.
Part 1. The Fall Before the Fire. April 2000, Shaun Pollock was handed the captaincy of South Africa, facing the biggest challenge of his career to lift a demoralized and shaken South African side. His captaincy started strongly, setting the team up with some convincing performances. And not only was the team playing good cricket, but Pollock's own performances were also solid. But then, disaster struck. A 3-0 whitewash against Australia in Australia. South Africa's first whitewash since their readmission to international cricket in 1991 post-apartheid. Despite the setbacks, South Africa was determined to rise once again. The next year, South Africa aimed for redemption in the 50-over World Cup. Even though it was a different format, it felt like a chance to heal the wounds. But things only got worse. A miscalculated Duckworth-Lewis calculation led to elimination in the group stage, humiliation on home soil. The board didn't hesitate. They sacked Pollock immediately. Then came the shockwave. A 22-year-old with barely any experience was handed the reins. Graeme Smith, South Africa's youngest Test captain.
I guess when you're 23 and 22, you're getting questioned a lot whether you're good enough, and you're always under pressure, so you're always trying to show that you're strong enough, and in doing that maybe you come across in the wrong way, but it was really the only way I knew to sort of get through the job at such a young age. So.
A team in ruins, a nation in disbelief, but Smith, he wasn't there to survive, he was there to rebuild. Part 2. Remember the name Graeme Smith. A dominant series win by an innings in both Test matches against Bangladesh in Bangladesh was the right starting point. But the real test was waiting ahead, a tour of England. By the time the Test series began following the ODI games, Graeme Smith was already under intense pressure. He made the tough call to drop Lance Klusner from the ODI side, a move that drew heavy criticism back home. and with his habit of bold statements, many felt he was overconfident. Now, with everything on the line, the real test of his leadership had arrived. The question now, could he rise to it? Before the series, England's captain Nasser Hussain was asked about the young South African skipper. He couldn't recall his name, referring to him as "what's his name?" and even calling him Graeme Smith by mistake. But Graeme Smith made sure that by the end of that series, everyone knew his name.
Well, he's got his double hundred, but in rather fortunate circumstances. Harmison can't believe it. Well, what a day for the South African captain. Just 22 years of age, thrust into this job after South Africa's disappointing World Cup. His teammates are off their chairs in the viewing area. It's a marvellous effort from Graeme Smith. 203 not out with 27 falls. Absolutely brilliant.
At Edgbaston in the first test, Smith batted for over 9 hours. He faced 373 balls and scored a massive 277 runs, the highest test score by a South African at the time. He followed it up with 85 in the second innings. England managed a draw, but the damage was done. Nasser Hussain decided to step down as England's test captain. He was the first of 3 England captains who would be broken under the weight of Smith's will. Then came Lords. Just 3 days later, Smith picked up right where he left off, another double century, 259 runs. His innings of 259 surpassed Don Bradman's record for the highest score by a visiting test batter at Lords. South Africa crushed England by an innings and 92 runs. Graeme Smith was player of the match in both games. England fought back in the third, South Africa dominated the fourth, and England won the fifth, ending the series 2-2. But the series wasn't about the result, it was about Smith's 714 runs in 9 innings, an average of 79.33, miles ahead of everyone else. At the end, this brilliant performance was a testament to the fact that despite the weight of captaincy, his batting thrived under pressure. However, critics questioned Smith's closed-face technique and his tendency to play across the line, but he silenced the doubters gloriously. England's slips waited in vain, hoping for edges that never came. He was leg-side dominant, yet when bowlers drifted too wide, he punished them with a ruthless cut shot. Simple, effective, brutal. But coming back to his captaincy, after the England series, things weren't as smooth. South Africa faced tough times. They lost series in Pakistan, Sri Lanka and India. They beat the West Indies in their own backyard, drew in New Zealand, but a crushing home series loss to England raised questions. The promise Smith had shown early in his tenure needed to be reignited. Part 3. The grind before glory. The last 2 series losses against India and England still brought some positives for South Africa. First, Hashim Amla made his international debut. Then, in the series against England, AB de Villiers and Dale Steyn were introduced. These players would go on to play a vital role in taking South Africa to the top under Smith's leadership.
It's a first test wicket for Dale Steyn. He's loving every moment of that. The celebrations in the crowd. South Africa absolutely desperate for that wicket. And it's Marcus Trescothick who might well have been beaten for a little bit of Dale Steyn's pace there.
Confidence slowly returned. South Africa won at home against Zimbabwe and West Indies. But it's never easy going up against the mighty Aussies. First, South Africa toured Australia and lost 2-0. Then Australia came to their backyard and handed them a 3-0 beating. South Africa bounced back with a series win against New Zealand at home. What followed was a surge in form. They won home series against India, Pakistan, New Zealand and West Indies and began performing well on away tours too. South Africa went on a 6-series winning streak, followed by a drawn series in India. Their brilliant run continued. But then, something unexpected happened. A decision by the South African Cricket Board surfaced. Graeme Smith and coach Mickey Arthur were planning to step down from their roles. In the year 2008, Graeme Smith came close to walking away from the captaincy. A heated dispute with Cricket South Africa selectors over the transformation policy and the squad for the Bangladesh tour had pushed him to the edge. The transformation policy was aimed at increasing racial diversity in the national side by ensuring more players of colour were represented. Smith however, stood firm in his belief that selection should be based on performances and team requirements. In the end, he stood his ground and won. The board president, Norman Arendse, stepped back, saying, "I defer to the captain and the coach. They are the ones who will be held accountable for the team's results." Smith took the players he trusted, and what followed was the beginning of a legendary run. But before we dive into that era of dominance, it's important to talk about the players Smith backed over the years. Players who went on to play a vital role in taking South Africa to the top. Part 4. The foundation that built greatness. Before we talk about the iconic run that was about to unfold under Graeme Smith, it's important to understand the players he backed. Players who weren't there because of a policy, but because they were the best South Africa had. And just to add, senior players like Jack Callis, Mark Boucher and others, despite being the senior most in the team, had no issue playing under Graeme Smith and shared the same goal. The core was strong, relentless. Graeme Smith, AB de Villiers, Jack Callis and Hashim Amla, they featured in almost every test during this period, all averaging over 50 in away conditions. Dale Steyn meanwhile terrorized batting lineups across the world. Facing Steyn at his peak wasn't just tough, it was a nightmare. He dominated the test rankings, holding the #1 spot for an astonishing 2,343 days. And then there was Jack Callis, not just a batting giant, but an all-rounder who also delivered with the ball whenever needed. Morne Morkel, who made his debut in late 2006, soon became a force too. A bowler who made life difficult not just at home, but even in away conditions.
Was that off the handle of the bat? Yes, definitely. Fantastic delivery from Morne Morkel, and suddenly South Africa are in amongst England.
Players kept coming, and if you had the potential, Smith backed you. JP Duminy and Faf du Plessis, Vernon Philander, Alvaro Peterson, Neil McKenzie, Ashwell Prince and Makhaya Ntini. Taking on South Africa during this period was like walking into a storm. Behind the stumps, they had one of the finest wicketkeeper batsmen in the world, Mark Boucher. When Mark Boucher's career ended in heartbreak after a serious eye injury, Graeme Smith had to make a decision. The team needed a new man behind the stumps. He backed AB de Villiers to take the gloves, choosing performance over politics. Later, when Thami Solokile accused him of racial discrimination, Smith stood firm, saying, "Unfortunately, Thami was a wicketkeeper, which meant he was always only fighting for one position. South Africa needed just one man behind the stumps, and AB de Villiers wasn't just doing the job, he was excelling with the gloves and with the bat. The performances spoke for themselves. That decision, like so many others, wasn't just a choice, it was a statement. It was the standard that built one of the most dominant test teams South Africa ever had."
2008, 2009 period, we had so many firsts that lay ahead of us, in that period. Winning England, winning Australia, we won both series in Pakistan in that period also. Drew with India, so...
Part 5. The beginning of dominance. Now that we've talked about the core, let's dive into the rise. It's July 2008. After a drawn series against India, South Africa were now up against England in England for a 4-match test series. And this was no easy challenge. Led by a formidable lineup under Vaughan, they were strong, confident and ready. South Africa hadn't won a test series in England since 1965, and this one wasn't going to come easy either. The first test at Lord's ended in a draw, and honestly, South Africa would have taken that any day. They were hammered for 593 in the first innings and bowled out for just 247. From there, a draw was the best case scenario, but it was also a wake-up call, a reminder that they had to bring their A game, and in the second test, that's exactly what they did. England batted first. South Africa's pace attack came in roaring. Steyn, 4 wickets, Morkel, 4 wickets, Ntini and Callis chipped in with 1 each, and then the batters stepped up. Prince scored a solid 149. AB de Villiers followed with a brilliant 174. South Africa posted a massive 522. This time, the situation mirrored the first test, except now, England were the ones hanging on for a draw. They managed a small lead as South Africa needed just 9 runs to win the match.
Yes! A stolen single does it for South Africa. They win by 10 wickets. And they go 1 up in the series. Graeme Smith can be mighty pleased because he's become the most successful South African Test captain ever. 28 victories now under his leadership.
Then came the third test, the turning point. England had to win to keep the series alive. South Africa had to win to end a 43-year wait. England batted first and were bowled out for 231. They knew they had to fight hard, and they did, keeping South Africa to 314 in their second innings. Thanks to Peterson and Collingwood, England posted 363. Target for South Africa, 281. Now look at the chase. McKenzie, 22. Amla, 6. Callis, 5. Prince, 2. AB, 27. Boucher, 45. At one point, there were 93 for 4. Then 171 for 5. The pressure was suffocating. But the captain took charge. Graeme Smith opened the innings and never left. He scored 154 not out. He absorbed the pressure. He silenced the crowd. He was in the zone. And when the moment came, he hit the winning runs himself.
There it is. That should be it. That's it. The winning runs came from the man that mattered. The captain, Smith. What a fantastic innings. 154 not out.
Many called it the best knock they had ever seen, because it wasn't just about runs. It was about standing tall when wickets tumbled around you. That innings broke England. Before the final test, Michael Vaughan stepped down, the second England captain to resign after losing to Graeme Smith. Under Peterson, England won the last match, but the series was done and dusted. And if you think this was the peak of South African cricket, no, this was just the beginning. Next stop, December 2008, South Africa tour of Australia. The challenge, even bigger. The stage was set. Graeme Smith versus Ricky Ponting, two fearless leaders, both known for their grit and unshakable determination. Australia hadn't lost a test series at home since the 1992-93 defeat to the West Indies. That's how long the fortress had stood, unbroken. But South Africa were ready to challenge history. It was a 3-match test series, and honestly, South Africa had mentally won it after the first game. Australia batted first and put up 375. South Africa replied with 281, trailing by 94. Then Australia added another 319. The target, 414. The skipper led from the front, 108 at the top, but he needed support from the middle and lower order, and they delivered. Hashim Amla 53, Jack Callis 57, AB de Villiers 106 not out, JP Duminy 50 not out. South Africa chased down 414, losing just 4 wickets. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. AB de Villiers was named player of the match.
That will do it. What a famous victory that is for South Africa. JP Duminy brings up a Test match 50 on debut, and South Africa have chased down 414.
The second test followed a familiar script. Australia batting first scored another huge total of 394. Dale Steyn picked up 5. But this time, South Africa didn't just catch up, they took control. They posted 459 thanks to a brilliant 166 from JP Duminy and a gritty 76 from Steyn with the bat. Then came the kill. Steyn tore through the Aussies again, another fifer. Australia collapsed for 247, target 183. South Africa chased it down with 9 wickets to spare. Series won. Fortress breached. But they weren't done yet. With a whitewash in sight, South Africa entered the third test. A win in Sydney would make them the top-ranked side. Australia posted a strong 445 on the board. But then, a major blow. Graeme Smith was forced to retire hurt with a fractured hand. And South Africa lost their way. They managed only 327. Eventually, Australia set a target of 376. South Africa was never really in the chase. And when they lost their 9th wicket at 257, the game looked done. Everyone believed it was over, because surely Smith wouldn't come out to bat. But then came the moment that defined Graeme Smith. With a broken hand, he walked out to try and save the game.
He's on his way. Broken hand. And
Out in the middle, the Aussies were confused. Had they already won? Or was Graeme Smith really about to walk out with a broken hand? He was clearly in pain, but the determination to represent his country was written all over him. Goosebumps followed. His courage louder than the pain. The series was already theirs. The game was long gone, but he still walked out. He faced 17 deliveries before Mitchell Johnson got through him. South Africa lost the match, but Smith wants something far greater, the respect of an entire nation. It was South Africa's first ever Test series win in Australia.
To win in England the first time since readmission, I mean, that was a terrific moment for all of us. What an honour. And then Australia was even bigger, I guess, because no one had done it in sort of 16, 17 years. It was the first time ever a South African team had won there. So
Graeme Smith called 2008 the greatest year in South African cricket. The year 2009 also went well, and then came 2010. One notable issue arose when Mickey Arthur resigned as South Africa's coach in January 2010, reportedly due to a breakdown in his relationship with Graeme Smith. A temporary replacement was appointed, but it wasn't until a year later in 2011 that Gary Kirsten took over, and under his coaching, the team achieved greatness once again. Part 6. Untouched, Unbroken, Undisputed. South Africa's dominance in Test cricket continued to grow. At home, they were strong, but away, they were near unbeatable. The remarkable streak of winning away series, which began in 2006, kept rolling on. Time and again, they came close to becoming the top-ranked Test side in the world, only to fall just short. One such moment came during the 2010 series against India. The series ended in a draw. India lost one ranking point, but just enough to retain their number 1 status. Smith and his men, however, were relentless the way they were playing, especially overseas. It wasn't a matter of if, but when South Africa would reach the summit. And that opportunity arrived once again. A 3-match Test series in England. The equation was simple: win the series and the top spot was theirs. Andrew Strauss was leading England this time. In the first Test, apart from Alistair Cook's 115, the English batting faltered and they were bowled out for 385. Alvido Peterson fell for a duck in South Africa's reply. A dream start for England, but that was the end of their joy. Graeme Smith struck 131, Jack Callis followed with 182, and then came the hammer blow. Hashim Amla's unbeaten 311. South Africa posted a monstrous 637 for 2. The pressure was off and the dominance was clear. England could only play for a draw, but Dale Steyn's 5-wicket haul and Imran Tahir's 3 ensured that wouldn't happen. England were bowled out. South Africa won by an innings and 12 runs. One more win would seal the number 1 ranking. At Headingley, rain had other plans. England, chasing 253, ended at 130 for 4, a draw, and so it all came down to Lord's, the home of cricket, fittingly the final frontier for the final blow. South Africa put up 309 in the first innings. England responded with 315, close but not enough. In the second innings, South Africa posted 351, setting England a target of 346. But Vernon Philander had other plans, a 5-wicket haul. England fell short by 51 runs. South Africa had done it. At Lord's, they were crowned the number 1 ranked Test team in the world. Player of the match, Vernon Philander, 7 wickets in the match and a gritty 96 with the bat. And just like Nasir Hussain in 2003 and Michael Vaughan in 2008, Andrew Strauss became the 3rd England captain to resign after losing a series to a Graeme Smith-led South Africa. The world's best Test team had another challenge ahead, another door to Australia. The 2012 Test series between South Africa and Australia was a battle of resilience, pressure and pride. The first Test ended in a draw, but for South Africa, it felt like a small win. Losing JP Duminy to injury on day 1 put them on the back foot, and when day 2 was washed out, it became Australia's game to dominate. And they did, but the rain had done just enough. A frustrating haul for Australia, a lucky break for the visitors. Then came the second Test. Australia came out firing. 2 centuries and 1 double ton powered them to a mammoth 550. In reply, Graeme Smith stood tall with the captain's 122, but no one else could turn their starts into something meaningful. South Africa crumbled to 388. Australia declared their second innings at 267. The pitch was not easy to bat on. The target was huge, 430 runs. South Africa never looked in the chase, reduced to 45 for 4. Then came Faf du Plessis. He needed AB de Villiers and Jack Callis to step up. AB showed immense grit, facing 220 deliveries for a hard-fought 33 in an effort to secure a draw. Jack Callis, batting despite an injury, shared a vital 99-run partnership with Faf. But wickets fell again, and the pressure mounted. Then came the last pair, Morne Morkel and Faf. Ball by ball the clock ticked. With every delivery, the tension climbed. Australia had luck on their side. Morne Morkel was on strike for the final over. But against all odds, South Africa held on. In the end, they had done it. A draw. Earned, not gifted. And then came the decider, the third test. The stakes couldn't be higher. It was Ricky Ponting's farewell test, the end of an era. Australia wanted a storybook ending, but South Africa had other plans. Faf fought again, this time with a gritty 78. South Africa scrapped their way to 225, but then came a bowling masterclass. Australia bundled out for just 163 runs. With a solid lead, South Africa went big. Hashim Amla's majestic 196, AB de Villiers' ruthless 169. They piled on 569. The target for Australia, an impossible 632. The chase began at the end of day 3, but deep down, everyone knew this wasn't a chase. This was survival. South Africa didn't let them breathe. They tore through the Aussie lineup. Victory by 309 runs. Series won. An era continued. Another stamp of dominance in away conditions. Another chapter in Graeme Smith's legendary captaincy. Part 7. Conclusion. From those early days when match fixing had taken over South Africa's headlines to the big question, who will lead South Africa, to a young Graeme Smith who walked in and changed history. He decided to retire after the 2014 series against Australia.
I didn't want to, hang on too long and finish it in a place where I didn't feel it was right, and I think for me to have finished at Newlands where it all started felt right. I really wish the Proteas now all the success in the world. I hope they go from strength to strength.
I want to leave the team in a better place than when I found it. That better structures around the team, and hopefully it will be at the top of the game. And the next guy can sort of impart his own personality onto the team and where he would like to take the Proteas. But yeah, I think the spirit with which the team is playing now, the way they're handling themselves off the field, is something that's important. And I think all of us are, becoming more acutely aware of the role we play in South Africa.
But the streak he had built didn't end with him. South Africa's run of dominance away from home continued for 9 long years, 15 consecutive away test series without defeat. That doesn't just speak of results, it speaks of the rock-solid foundation he left behind. During his captaincy tenure, South Africa had an incredible stretch, just 1 series defeat in 25 consecutive series. Winning in England and Australia twice is a testament to his leadership, and it can't be brushed off as a one-off. And just to add, it wouldn't be wrong to say that his captaincy often took away the limelight from his batting. He would deliver with the bat and then back it up with his tactical decisions on the field. Over a career of 117 test matches, he scored 9,265 runs at an average of 48.25. And if there were ever doubts about his ability in foreign conditions, just look at this. In away tests, he averaged a staggering 53.93, with 15 of his 27 centuries coming outside South Africa. And just to add, he was also the captain of the ICC World 11 Test team in 2005 in a one-off match against Australia. The 3rd most runs as a test opener and the 4th most in all internationals. He remains the only player to captain in over 100 tests and so much more. Smith didn't just steady a sinking ship, he turned it into one of the most feared sides in test cricket. What do you think? Is Graeme Smith one of the finest leaders in the history of test cricket? Let me know your thoughts and I'll see you soon. Bye.